All right, got everything tacked up. As far as the rear end goes, or the differential goes, got everything tacked up, but I still have the straps on it, just so I don't put too much pressure on it, because they're all only tacked in. So this is what she looks like. Okay, let me move this welding cable. This is what she looks like. All right, so I'm still working on the Toyota. This one right here. So I made these brackets that are, well, actually, let me back up. I put these bars in here to make the frame more rigid, because again, this is a unibody frame. So this is going all the way back to above the rear, the differential. Then I took some channel, cut it in half, and massaged it until I got it how it needed to be to go around these pipes, or around these tubing, around the tubing. So this will be welded to the body, to the frame underneath, to the unibody frame. And then this bar is for the shocks. So what I'm gonna do is, once I get everything lined up, I'm going to I'm really just gonna tack it in place first, but eventually I'm gonna weld this in, and the shock, and put the shocks in the brackets. These are the shock brackets. I actually have to open them up because these are for a smaller rear end or differential, and 8.8 is going, 4 to 8.8 is going in here. I would have loved to have put this here, put the shocks wider, but that's not gonna happen. I like it out further for stability, but this car is so narrow that I'm gonna have to put it in here, which I don't like as much, but that's where it's gonna have to go, because the reason I don't like it is because heat has already been put here when he had the differential shortened, and then I gotta put heat here to weld these full-length brackets, because as you can see, I couldn't go out any further than I already did. And then I'm gonna have to put heat again here. So I'm gonna have to really weld very slowly, I guess, so I don't build up too much heat at one time, which, you should do that anyway, but I'm gonna do this extra slowly to hopefully not build up too much heat. Hope my voice doesn't sound too bad. I don't know if I have allergies or catching a cold, but I feel fine, but my nose is running. I'm not trying to gross anybody out, but my nose is running. And my sinuses feel pretty tight, so I'm hoping that it's just allergies. So yeah, anyway, so I gotta open up the brackets, and I'm just gonna tack everything in. But I'm gonna pack it up for tonight. Oh, and also I tacked these in on each side. They're not welded all the way in yet, but I tacked these in. These are the bars I explained earlier, or in a previous video. In fact, let me grab the bar. For this bar, because as I explained in a previous video, I just didn't feel comfortable with this bar by itself. holding the 4-link in place. So I had this bar. So I welded this bar in there for the 4-link, but I also didn't like, as you can see, how low I had to weld that to get the stance that we wanted on the bottom bar. So I wanted some more security, or security on the top. So that bar will be welded to these little brackets, these little tubing, but I can't weld that in until I put the subframe back in. So I hope you can see the plan a little bit better with it outside of the car. So once I weld that bar in on the top, there'll be no more taking it back out. So I have to make sure I have everything in place. And I took it back out and forgot to set up the bars. I think I mentioned that in an earlier video, the bars that's gonna go here. But I can do that in the car before I weld the top one in, and just tack them in place, and then let the subframe down and weld it all the way around. So that's not a big deal. So that's where I'm at right now. And for the people with very keen eyes that saw the clamps on here and this aluminum square tube going back, that's just so I can make sure I have the differential square in the subframe. That's the main thing. Everything has to be squared up. If not, it'll what they call dog track, and you don't want that. So that's why I have those. Also use these when I'm centering the rear end in the car, rather than dealing with the tires and stuff. I'll put it on here. Now they make a bracket, which I have. I just got them a couple days ago off of Amazon, that you can bolt to the differential. I haven't even taken them out of the box yet, but that's what I was using this bar for before I got those. So I haven't got to that point where I need them on this project right now. But this bar works really well for centering the differential. So that's for those people with the keen eye and the people that didn't have as keen of an eye. But I just wanted to show a little trick, a little tip. Let me know how you like that tip in the comments. And like I said, I'm packing it in for tonight, and I'll talk to you guys later when I get back on this thing. Okay, so I have the subframe all welded up and ready to go in. I just gotta clean the areas where these plates, it's still a little warm, where these plates go underneath the car that actually weld to the subframe. So this is a new frame. So I gotta weld all these, clean all of these areas hot, underneath, and then put it up in there, hopefully for the last time. One thing I should have done while I had it under there the last time was to get the shock mounts where they needed to be, but I won't have to take it out in order to do that. I can weld that from underneath, because it's gonna be welded either here. I may just weld it here because it looks like the way this differential is, how short it is. I may end up, if it doesn't work, I won't know till I put it back. I'll weld the shocks, of course, on the back side of it, but in this area. as far away from here as I can, but there's not a lot of, you see how short this tube is, you know? So if you look at these welding gloves, look at that. It's basically not a lot of area to weld to. So I just got to do the best I can as far as welding, where it can be as strong as possible. So next step is clean everything up underneath where I got to weld everything to, and then set the rear back in there, the differential back in there, and put the shock mounts in and set the ride height. All right, so before I put the undercarriage in, I gotta get everything prepped. So, as you know, I narrowed this, the original rails. I cut out these slots so that the bar can go through for the four-link. So I boxed it back in for strength. I gotta do some grinding and all that. And as I cut all of this out, of course, when you get to the back, it comes a point where, sorry if I'm making you seasick, comes a point where you have an opening here. So I put a piece of metal back in there. So I just only thing I got left is, of course, I got to do my grinding and do the other side. Do that side. Then I can put the undercarriage back in, or skeleton, or subframe, I don't know, whatever, chassis, whatever you want to call it. I'll put that back in. That's over there on the ground, going across the ground there. I'll put that back in, and then I'll weld the shock mounts in. We'll line everything up, weld the shock mounts in, and maybe I can set it on the ground and see what it looks like. Okay, so I got everything tacked in. Tacks aren't the best, but they'll hold until I can take the differential back out and make it look a little better. But I got the shock mounts tacked in, got the brackets in for the top part. So now I just gotta pull the differential back out and weld the four-link brackets in, weld the shock brackets in. Got the diagonal bar cut to where I want it at, right here. So now all I gotta do is just pull everything back out as far as the differential and weld up the brackets and do all the final welding on the subframe and put everything back together, and then start on the tin work. So that's where I'm at now. All right, so I have the shock bracket welded up. I got the outside of this bracket welded up. And what I've done is, you can see these, I made these little shims out of some tubing, and they're actually a 1/16 wider than the joint. Let's get that in focus. About a 1/16 wider than the joint. So that way when I weld this bracket, it'll the metal is gonna pull in, so that way it'll keep the spacing. And I put them in the middle holes of each one. Don't know if that makes a difference, putting them in the middle holes or which hole it is, but I just figured I'd put it in the center hole of each one. And so now I weld up this bracket on each side, and then I'll stick it back in there, and well, I still gotta weld up the subframe that I made, or whatever you want to call it. So I gotta finish welding that up, then I'll put the differential back in and see how it lines up. Alright, so I got the differential all welded up. All the welds are completed, and I have everything on the car welded up. It'll be hard to see because I don't have the light on there, but I have everything welded up on the car, so now I'm ready to put the differential back in. Oh, and also I still haven't put the top bar in yet. I'll put that in after I get everything else done as far as the suspension itself. I'll put this top bar right here on those little pedestals that I made after I get the rear end back in and everything. And I gotta fix, well, actually after I finish fixing, hold on, let me open the door. After I finish fixing where the seat belt goes, I don't know if I showed you this earlier, but all of this is rotted out. So I gotta fix this. I guess he'll take care of the body work down here. All of this down here, but I'm just gonna fix this, secure that for the seat belt. I'll just plate it just to make it safe. But I won't be putting it in tonight because it's late and I have to go to my day job in the morning. So I will do that tomorrow.